Welcome to the Power of One. Today, I am super excited to speak with Yolanda from Respect Together. I didn't know Yolanda long, but I remember seeing an article that said new CEO. And I just looked at her picture and I said, I want to be connected with that sister right there. And I reached out to her. I contacted quite a few people. Do you know Yolanda? Do you know Yolanda? Do you know Yolanda? I was just sending emails. Do you know Yolanda? And then she happened to connect with someone under a program that I oversaw. That young lady spoke so highly of Yolanda and said, "Oh, I've been talking to Yolanda. She's so down to earth." I said, "Do you know who Yolanda is?" She is the CEO. She said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know. We were just talking like we were friends." I said, "Send me her email because I'm going to contact her because I want to be her friend too." Welcome to the show, Yolanda.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, Yolanda, let's speak about your career journey and how it led you to Respect Together.
Absolutely. So I've been involved in prevention, intervention, like basically community engagement since the late 90s. Started off in community corrections. In that space is, like many people, a family member, um, a family member, right? So didn't like kind of what I was seeing. And then that spearheaded me into volunteering in that space of HIV prevention. And then also, it wasn't called PREA back then. Wasn't called PREA back then, and that's Prison Rape Elimination Act. So it wasn't called that back then, but that's what I learned a whole lot, was working in community correction spaces about prison rape, and also whether that be back then saying inmate to inmate or guard to inmate, and all those different spaces was like late 90s was in that space, and working to intervene and prevent those things. And that spearheaded my career in volunteering spaces. But really took off there around the treatment of individuals who had HIV and
Mm.
the mistreatment of individuals who had HIV. And so that's really what took me in the spaces of prevention and intervention of how people were being treated. And that's the advocacy part. And it just happened in that space. And then taken off into alternative education, because then I also had a space of working in juvenile detention centers. In that time of working in education, whether that was alternative education, and then also spending some time in juvenile detention centers. And again, same thing happening, finding myself in the same position. And then I had the great opportunity of working for the American Cancer Society. And again, finding my space in community engagement. And that was in a volunteer opportunity of doing Relay for Life and even getting my kids involved in it. And prevention and education, could continue to bring education to the community that I was at, and then looking at it on a broader range of what does that mean? How do I continue to build my community and make sure that my community is informed, and then branching out and continuing. So got involved with the American Cancer Society and learn is like continue to like eat and eat and eat knowledge, and what can I do with that? And then got tapped into different folks there and doing some intervention in that space and some prevention in that space with churches in my area. I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting paid for this part. Like I had my own job at the Cancer Society. I was like, oh, I can volunteer though, because I knew men weren't testing, weren't checking themselves for testicular cancer, and they weren't going to the doctors because then my family weren't going to the doctors. So how do I do that part? So I just started with spaces that I knew and were dear to me. So went to church. So did that part, and then prevention of HIV/AIDS was important to me. So while I was there talking about checking yourself for cancer, I'm going to also talk about this. And so what do I do there? Did that, and then went from that space, and then working in a health center, again, HIV/AIDS prevention. Got to lead that community engagement space for a while. Had a great leadership in all these spaces of like, you got a thought, you got a dream. We're going to go ahead and give you all the education that you want and that you can consume, because that's who I was. And then just kept pushing me out. Okay, what can you do with it? What can you do with it? And in all those spaces, getting an opportunity to lead and management opportunities. In Hamilton Health Center was the last place before here that I worked at that put me on a large scale, whether that was radio spots or news spots and things like that, was the big branch opportunities that came from working at Hamilton Health Center, which was the largest FQSC in this area. So that really spearheaded my career, and having leadership that just really believed in my thoughts and pushed me to like as high and as far as I wanted to take them. They just gave me the range to do so and to dream big, and saw this opportunity for the National Division of Respect Together and jumped at it. And the former CEO, Janine Peterson at Hamilton Health Center, and then also Regina King, who was my direct supervisor at the time, just encourage movement. And I'm here now. Been here 7 years, and even here, continue to encourage movement and to see how far not only can I push myself, but along with the organization.
That's awesome. And you said something that it's so important that a lot of people do not get. Volunteering is priceless. You don't always have to get paid to do something, but you volunteer and you get that knowledge. It's priceless. And I don't think some people truly understand that. You also said something that really piqued my interest. Working with those who were raped in the prison systems. Do they have victim advocates? And you might not know about all the prisons, but do they have victim advocates in the prison? Are those victims given the right to file victims' compensation claims? Do they get therapy? Explain a little bit about that.
Well, my entryway was in the 90s. So a lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed. So, man, it's just a little sad. And so a lot has changed and then a lot hasn't. I know it doesn't sound the greatest, but it's reality. So my entryway in that time period, though those things existed, it wasn't the greatest. So sure, advocates existed. They probably weren't called that within the prison system, but there were spaces for you to go to. But was it, or individuals for you to go to, but was it like it is now where you have your PREA coordinator? Like now there's specific titles, there's specific people getting training. Like 2 months ago, I met Pennsylvania's new PREA coordinator. They came into the office and met us. So there's like specific folks that's held accountable. They've got their training and they're doing trainings throughout Pennsylvania and different things like that. So it's more organized and think all of those things. And there's funding towards it and reports and all of that. Back then, if it existed, I don't know much about it then. Sure. But it was hard. And the system, it just was hard. It was harsh. The prison, it has grown a whole lot. And then there's a lot of spaces that it still needs to grow. I sat on a panel, I want to say at the end of last year, with Just Detention International, just talking about my experience and then also my experience here and getting to hear survivors. They have a survivor, JDI has a survivor, what are they called? Survivor advocacy? No, survivors, what are we called? They were survivors panel. Yeah, as a part of their board. And I know I'm getting Survivors Council. That's what it's called. There's Survivors Council. I know I get the words. And that's where I say then a lot hasn't changed. So here we are where we're talking to their Survivors Council is also sitting on a panel. So I'm talking late 90s, which is over 30 years ago. And having those experiences and having people talk to me that like after they come home and, I'm helping them with some other reason why they're there. And they're telling me their experience. And then here in 2023, I'm sitting on this panel and someone that just came home having the same experience that a person that I talked to in the late 90s from 2023. And then depending on what prison they were at, here's another person that was talking about, yes, I was assaulted while I was in jail. And here were all the things that were available to me. But yet and still, I was still assaulted while I was in jail.
Right.
Yes, there was avenues for me to go to report, but yet I was still assaulted while I was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that I was still assaulted while I was in jail. So there was one person experiencing, there was an avenue for me to get assistance after it happened. And then here was
Mm-hmm.
another person that there were no avenues, but the assault still happened. So I don't
Right.
want to miss that point right there, that the assault still is happening. And it's a space to remember that rape is not a part of the sentence. Rape is not a part of the sentence. Like I always want to remember to say that that is not a part of the punishment. Rape is not a part of the punishment is actually the tagline.
Right.
For us to always remember that is not a part of the punishment. So that's the part that I always want to highlight. Is like, yes, there has been some things that change of the reporting part, and still like there are still rapes that are happening in prison, and there are still some prisons that don't have a good reporting process. And then what happens with the reporting?
Mm-hmm. So Respect Together, tell
Mhm.
us about what services are available for Respect Together. Is there offices throughout PA, and how would one access those services?
So Respect Together was formerly the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. So I'm so happy that I get the opportunity to talk about Respect Together itself. So Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape was founded in 1975. So we're going to turn 50 next year. And
Okay.
what we did was rebrand last year. So it gives an opportunity for us to have an umbrella organization. And that's what Respect Together is. It's our umbrella organization. And in that, it houses our two divisions. So we have our state division, which is the Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect, and then our
Mhm.
national division, which is the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. So that's what's housed under the umbrella organization. So you still have state, you have national. So under the state, you'll have like our legal department, which is our sexual violence legal project. And then you still have like the rape crisis centers that have that connection. So within your counties, you have your rape crisis centers. Some of them are dual centers, so you can go there for domestic violence and also sexual violence. That's all under the state. And
Okay.
then under the national part of the organization, that's what your other coalitions, like the Pennsylvania Coalition, you have your New York, your California, and all those different things. That would be our audience and our health departments and things like that. So
And
technically, you're not coming to Respect Together. You're going to
Mhm.
your local rape crisis
Okay.
center, other than like the legal services that are here, or our library. Like legal services, our library, some of very specific reasons, or some of our trainings or resources are the reasons that you're coming here. But for victim services, you are going to your local rape crisis center.
Okay. And every county throughout PA
It's
has,
by a local rape crisis center. Yes.
and they report to PCAR.
They are their own standalone entity. Now that we are all connected together, as I'm learning, like I have, look, this is our big book of our first 10 years, because that's what
Okay.
I'm doing, taking it bite by bite.
Right.
Because my previous role was just with the national part. We were formed by rape crisis centers come together and saying, what else do we do? What else do we need?
Mhm.
But they aren't like reporting how people think. They are their own standalone. There is flow through funding, and I think that's the confusion part that people see, because there's flow through funding, but the rape crisis centers are their own standalone organizations, and they run, like standalone organizations too. But we are all connected in the work, and the rape crisis. Some of the directors, like six of them, sit on our board, and we're connected in that way that we're doing the work together.
And then all counties can actually function differently. Like Bucks County, they have the same program for those who are affected by rape or non-fatal strangulation or IPV violence. Then in every hospital in Bucks County, a forensic nurse can do that rape exam. Now in Philly, it's a little different because the hospitals don't do the rape exams. They have one location that's by the special victims unit. So each county can provide services differently.
It's on what's a, you know about funding. You know about funding. and what's available, and what's connected to that with what SANE nurses are available. We know that there's a limited what do I want to say? Limited amount of SANE nurses available in the state of Pennsylvania, like many states. There's a limited amount of SANE nurses, and it's more wrapped around we need more SANE nurses. We need more funding. Like that's what a lot of things boil down to. We need more SANE nurses. We need more funding, or that is connected to sexual violence, specifically. Yeah, because there's a lot of funding cuts potential of funding cuts that's happening, or there's been the same level of funding with more ask of the same exact money that's happening. So that's where a lot of the problems that come in.
Where's the main office located?
So we have one office. Respect Together office is right here on Front Street in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
The governor's office, the governor's house is on one side of McClay Street, and we are on the other side of McClay Street. Yep. So we only have one office.
Okay. So we got to go see the governor because we need more funding so we can go knock on the governor's door. So it might take both of us because I don't know. One of us might not make it, but you contact somebody and say, we need to get Melany some money because she was really doing something good. You know what I mean? So if she's really doing something good. Yeah, trying to get
downtown. We're less than 7 minutes from downtown. Like it's not as they say, a hop, skip, and a jump. Really close.
Okay. Now, what events does Respect Together have coming up?
Oh, so it's April. It's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And like in the state of Pennsylvania, it's United Pennsylvania. So United Communities. And that's what the whole thing is. And then nationally, we have building connected communities. And that's what we want to stand on, is remembering that we can't do this alone, that we all have to build connected communities. And communities are connected can even just be your community at home. Like, how do we do that together? And starting very small, or it can be very granular, like be very big. But this month we have a whole line of them. Even just Wednesday is Advocacy Day. So early in the morning, we'll be right at the Capitol, starting at 7:30. And then later on in the day at 2:00 is our open house to unveil our rebrand and see our beautiful building with our community folks. And then we have an invite to our welcome event, which is we're using one of our community partners building. That's a couple doors down to introduce the new CEO, and that is me, and our SAM event, and being able to talk more about building connection within our community here and then across Pennsylvania. So that's just on April 10th, and to celebrate SAM, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, throughout April. And then also one of the huge things that we do, that we host every other year, and then we take turns with California, is the National Sexual Assault Conference, which is in August every year. And that gives an opportunity for many advocates across the United States and territories to come together and learn together about different topics that range from all the way from, leering, all the way to rape, and then accountability, and what does that look like across.
So any advocate can attend that training?
Yeah, we have advocates, we have healthcare, we have our military, we have those that treat individuals who cause harm. So that's a wide range of folks that come to the National Sexual Assault Conference.
And where is it going to be held this year?
This year is in DC at the Hilton. It's NSAC is with the short name of it. It's right on there.
Okay. And the NOVA conference is actually the end of July going into August. And that's at the Hilton. And so maybe I'll just stay. What's the dates for that? Do you have that yet?
It is August 14th through 16th.
Okay. Well, make sure you please send me that information. So tell the viewers how they can access services if they were raped. Now, can they call, like your office? Is there like a 1-800 number they can call? Anyone can call. And then if they're from a different county, then you put them in contact with that county?
Yeah. So if anyone were to call our office, even though we were just triage you to the hotline because Pennsylvania has a hotline and it would triage you and put you to exactly who's going to your county, so that you can get connected with a live person. But yeah, we have an 800 number. It's 1-800-692-7445, and it will take you exactly where you're supposed to be at. Yeah, because we're a regular 9 to 5 organization. So and when I say we, I mean Respect Together. That's including our national division and also our state coalition. We don't have an actual live hotline that we answer 24/7, but the Break Crisis Centers do have a 24/7 line that takes you so that you're always covered and someone is always coming to you.
I am looking forward to seeing you on April the 22nd when we kick off National Victims' Rights Week, which is very important. So we're going to stand for all of those who are affected by crime. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Understand that there are many, many resources available to you. Please join us on April the 22nd in Harrisburg at the main rotunda to kick off National Victims' Rights Week. I hope to see you there. Peace and love.